hotel keycards and dish soap have in common? They're both used as improvised tools for the construction of Boeing airplanes. You know, the ones with spontaneously exploding doors? Boeing airplanes have been falling out of the sky like rain. Employees have been leaving the company with safety concerns. A Boeing whistleblower was just found dead from a gunshot wound to the head, and their stock price has fallen off a cliff. But this isn't just a streak of bad luck, and if you were paying attention, you could have seen it coming. The worst part, all of these deaths could have been prevented. So why weren't they? Despite its current situation, Boeing had a great start. Founded in 1916 by William E. Boeing, both World Wars I and II saw the government throwing money at the company in return for high-end, war-winning military aircrafts. But it wasn't just the military technology they were developing. In 1927, Boeing began trying their hand at commercial air travel, a decision that would eventually lead them to become the largest developer of commercial airplanes in the world.
Ryan, look! There's a new kind of plane! That's Eastern's new Boeing 727 jet. Where does it fly to? I don't know.
Engineers more or less ran Boeing, so it had a huge focus on safety and quality. According to Ron Epstein, an aerospace analyst, Boeing had a reputation of a company where engineers were high church. And with the release of the 707 in 1958, Boeing essentially birthed the era of commercial air travel altogether. But decades later, as the Cold War ended and the US defense industry shrank, the 51 aerospace and defense prime contractors became just 5 giant companies: Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, General Dynamics, Northrop Grumman, and of course, Boeing. Amongst all these mergers, Boeing bought one of their competitors, McDonnell Douglas, a decision that would mark the beginning of Boeing's downfall. The problem was, while Boeing focused on engineering, McDonald's profit-centric employees were filling lots of their roles, and they were about to run into competition. A lot of competition. Airbus is Boeing's biggest competitor in commercial air travel, and in 2010, they announced a big update to their most popular model, the A320. The update used a bigger engine that was 15% more fuel efficient, and Boeing was fucking terrified. This new Airbus plane would quickly eat into the sales of Boeing's most popular plane, the Boeing 737. And so a few months later, Boeing said, we can do that too. And taking a page out of Apple's marketing handbook, they announced the 737 MAX. The problem? The 737 couldn't fit the bigger engine unless the engine was lifted higher on the wings, a design change that would push the nose of the 737 MAX upwards during flight. So they installed the cheap software called MCAs that automatically points the nose of the plane back down if the pilot lifts it too high. Like autocorrect. Except 346 people have died from it. They then gave the 737 pilots just 2 hours of training on iPads without a single flight simulation and said they were clear to fly the MAX, but the training didn't even mention the software. A few years later, the 737 MAX was up in the air. Not long after that, Lion Air Flight 610 nosedives into the Java Sea just 12 minutes after takeoff. A few months later, Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302, no survivors. Both of these planes were 737 MAX, and the plane was grounded worldwide due to safety concerns. Unlike the passengers who entrusted their lives to this company, Boeing survived the whole ordeal, and things haven't gotten much better. Since the year 2000, Boeing planes have crashed over 100 times. How has Boeing stayed alive despite all of this? Let's follow the money.
Other than maybe the CEO of Boeing, I don't know anybody who's done more to sell Boeing planes around the world than me.
With nearly half of their revenue coming from the US government alone, Boeing has practically become the definition of a state-sponsored company. This revenue flows into their Defense, Space, and Security Division, which has nothing to do with commercial airplanes. In 2021, the US government gave Boeing more money than Boeing had earned from all the revenue generated from their commercial branch combined. Marry this with the pressure to outdo competition and cut production costs at just about every step along the way, and Boeing's plan began to develop.
Now what's the next step of your master plan?
Crashing this plane with no survivors.
Instead of making and designing almost everything themselves, they would start outsourcing most of the grunt work. Not only did Boeing begin using subcontractors to provide them with more parts than ever before, but they started to outsource the design of these parts too. Remember Boeing being the high church for engineers? Yeah, now they're pretty much a Las Vegas chap. And where they couldn't outsource, like with the production of the main body of the plane, they just amputated that whole section of the company and allowed it to run independently instead. That company is called Spirit Aerospace. And it seems like the spirit of McDonald's cutting stuck around, because after one inspection, the Air Safety Agency said they witnessed someone using a hotel key card to check a door seal. In another instance, they saw someone using literal dish soap to lubricate a door seal during a fit-up process. These people are making bodies of airplanes for Boeing, not toy cars, and they're improvising. Greg Bowen, the Training and Standards Chair at the Southwest Pilots Association, told the New York Times that they were building the plane and still designing it. The result of the 13 quality control audits conducted by the Air Safety Agency, Spirit Aerospace failed 7 of them. And of the 89 they conducted at Boeing's 737 MAX production centers, Boeing failed another 33. In 2018, a whistleblower named Edward Pearson sent a lengthy email to his Boeing supervisors expressing concerns about the culture around safety and quality control. Concerned that safety procedures were often being rushed, overlooked, or ignored entirely to avoid production delays, Pearson said, "For the first time in my life, I'm sorry to say that I'm hesitant about putting my family on a Boeing airplane." Staff were under unrelenting pressure to produce these planes as fast and cheaply as possible, using parts from scrap boxes when shortages occurred instead of waiting for fresh parts to be delivered. Wheels falling off, planes crashing, catching fire, and most recently, doors exploding mid-flight. These are all the result of Boeing's fast food paying good chicken nugget approach to plane construction. There's no excuse for cutting corners when thousands of lives are at risk, and Pearson knew that. But just 1 year after the crashes, the FAA cleared the 737 MAX to fly again. And just 2 months ago, shortly after taking off in Oregon, passengers on a 737 MAX had their clothes literally ripped from their bodies as the cabin rapidly depressured due to the door falling off. Gee guys, I don't know much about planes or engineering, I'm just a woman on the internet, but I'm pretty sure that's not supposed to fucking happen.
Some breaking news coming in right now on the broadcast in connection to yet another Boeing mid-air mishap.
People would have died if this had happened at a higher altitude.
And yet, here we are, and Boeing has barely a scratch to show for it. Oh what, the CEO stepped down? Great, they'll find another pencil pusher tomorrow. This company has a get-out-of-jail-free card for every single screw-up. And when you consider the influence and reliance that the US government has on the company, it starts to get kind of suspicious.
So now I'm suspicious.
If you're running a business and just one of your customers provides you with half of your entire company's revenue, you're gonna make some trade-offs to keep that customer happy, even if it's at the expense of your other less lucrative customers. Boeing alone represents 21% of the Department of Defense's procurement budget. So the government has a massive vested interest in the future of Boeing. Usually, when a company's product becomes shit or its services get worse, that company is a one-way street to bankruptcy. This regulates greed and laziness because there's no room to be lazy in a free market. The competition will just eat you. But when the government is able to inject free money into zombie companies like Boeing, all the inefficiencies and shortfalls of that company get subsidized. In industries where safety is a real concern, Especially on the scale of aviation, failures the size of Boeing's should not be allowed to fly. No pun intended. You can't be an American dream success story in the private sector while having most of your decision-making done within the frame of the US government. Countries like Russia and China are already taking advantage of Boeing's fence-sitting by launching their own airplane manufacturing company, COMAC. Except they're willing to let their nuts hang and admit it's purely state-owned. Companies like Boeing benefit massively from something called economies of scale, which basically means that they get to produce each plane much cheaper because they're making so many of them. Combine this with the polar opposite approach of regulators who tend to make it hard for competitive newcomers to arise despite giving big companies like Boeing the go-ahead of their iPad training programs, and you can see how the industry gets monopolized. And when it does, the monopolies grow and grow and grow and grow until their skeleton of principles, morals, and innovation can no longer bear the weight of the behemoth surrounding them. It's at this point that the mantra, too big to fail, reaches from the mouths of the government officials like a hand grasping at its straws. And if by magic, the company's resurrected, not fully dead, not fully alive, not fully private, not fully public, just floating in a limbo of Ouroboros bureaucracy and decomposing products. Should we continue with the half-public, half-private zombie companies that allow the government to get what they want without the fingers of blame pointing back at them when things go wrong? Or should we take an all-in approach, cut the life support, and let some companies die before their customers do? Thank you guys so much for watching. If you get on a Boeing airplane, let me know if you make it out alive. And if you have any subjects that interest you and you want us to cover, let us know in the comments below. And I'll see you on the next episode if you make it out alive. Woo!